What in the is that, dude?
What was that? Holy shit!
It all began when a highly detailed image surfaced online, purportedly showing a massive, unidentified flying object hovering over the remote Four Corners region of the American Southwest.
It is a lenticular object, and when you look at the shadow being cast, it is significantly large. This is an altitude of 21,000 feet.
The photo was jaw-droppingly clear, depicting a lenticular, silver, disc-shaped object suspended in the sky at an estimated altitude of 21,000 feet. The disc appeared to be motionless and casting a distinct shadow on the terrain below. This wasn't just another blurry or pixelated image. It looked cinematic, almost too perfect. The photo gained legitimacy when it was presented by Luis Elizondo, a former military intelligence officer who previously ran the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. Elizondo shared the image during a panel discussion on science, national security, and innovation, a setting that lent the image a serious tone. Attendees included high-level defense and intelligence figures, which only fueled the photo's credibility in the eyes of the public. What set this image apart was its professional quality and the sheer scale of the object. Descriptions suggested the object measured between 600 and 1,000 feet in diameter, larger than a commercial airliner, and unlike any known human-made aircraft. The online reaction was immediate and intense. Social media platforms, UFO forums, and conspiracy circles lit up with speculation. Was this the long-awaited smoking gun? Had a whistleblower finally risked it all to expose the truth? UFO communities react to a potential breakthrough.
A real flying saucer looks like this. But UFO sightings persist, and skeptics often become confirmed believers.
As the image circulated, speculation ran rampant. Some compared the object to the iconic flying saucers spotted in the 1950s and 60s, bringing back memories of the golden era of UFO sightings. Others saw parallels to the Tic Tac and Gimbal UAPs captured by U.S. Navy pilots in 2004 and 2015, events that were confirmed by the Pentagon and have since become part of the mainstream UFO conversation. Within hours, prominent UFO researchers and podcasters weighed in. Many were quick to point out the object's smooth geometry, lack of visible propulsion systems, and perfect shadow, which seemed to confirm that the craft was three-dimensional and interacting with sunlight in a consistent manner. The excitement was palpable. Could this be an anti-gravity vehicle? A reconnaissance craft? Perhaps even an extraterrestrial probe? But there were skeptics, too. Some questioned why Elizondo, who has built a reputation for careful, measured disclosure, would present such a dramatic image without verifying its origin. Was this a test of public reaction, a piece of disinformation, or simply an honest mistake? A Reddit researcher uncovers the truth. Just when the story seemed to be reaching a fever pitch, a twist emerged from an unexpected source: Reddit. An anonymous user in a UFO investigation forum began analyzing the image using satellite mapping tools and digital terrain overlays. Their analysis revealed something astonishing. By comparing landmarks and terrain features visible in the photo, the user was able to pinpoint the object's exact location: on the ground, east of Colorado Springs, Colorado. The UFO was not flying at all. It was a naturally occurring geological formation, a circular, slightly elevated field or plateau surrounded by contrasting vegetation and soil. Under the right lighting and from the right angle, the topography created a visual illusion that mimicked the look of a hovering disk. The supposed shadow was nothing more than a contrast in the terrain itself. The user posted side-by-side comparisons of satellite imagery and the UFO photo, clearly illustrating that they were identical. The online community was stunned. Within hours, additional researchers independently confirmed the finding. The viral image that had sparked so much excitement was, in fact, a perfect example of pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive meaningful patterns in random data. A humbling reminder. about perception and context. This revelation served as a powerful reminder of the limits of human perception. Our brains are hardwired to seek patterns and explanations, especially when presented with ambiguous or unusual imagery. In this case, the illusion was convincing enough to fool even experienced observers. Optical illusions like this are not new in the UFO community. There's a long history of misidentified objects, weather balloons, lenticular clouds, camera lens flares, and now terrain formations. What makes this case significant is how quickly it was believed and how widely it spread before being debunked. It's a sobering lesson in how easily even well-meaning investigators can fall into the trap of confirmation bias. When people want to believe something is real, especially something extraordinary, they are more likely to interpret data in a way that supports that belief. Alzandos' caution and the importance of transparency. To Alzandos' credit, he never explicitly claimed the image was of a genuine UFO. In fact, he prefaced his presentation by noting that the image could not be authenticated and that it was shared to stimulate discussion and demonstrate the challenges of analyzing potential UAP evidence. Still, many critics question the wisdom of presenting such a dramatic, unverifiable image in a high-profile setting. The risk, they argued, was that it could undermine the credibility of legitimate UAP research efforts, especially at a time when the U.S. government is slowly beginning to take the topic seriously. Transparency is key in this field. When researchers and officials present data, particularly to the public or to lawmakers, they must be clear about its source, context, and level of verification. Anything less invites skepticism and diminishes trust. The psychology behind UFO interpretations. There's a well-documented psychological component to UFO sightings and interpretations. Human beings are prone to what psychologists call patternicity, the tendency to detect meaningful patterns in meaningless noise. Combined with cultural influences, sci-fi media, and increasing public interest in extraterrestrial life, our minds are primed to interpret ambiguous images as extraordinary objects. The Arizona photo perfectly illustrates how easily perception can be tricked. It also shows how community-driven analysis, like that conducted by Reddit researchers, can play a vital role in separating signal from noise. UFO research at a crossroads. This incident is critical to UAP research. In recent years, Congress has held classified briefings on unexplained aerial phenomena. Pilots and military personnel have come forward with credible testimony. Agencies like NASA and the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARO, have launched investigations. There's never been more institutional attention to the subject of UFOs. Yet, for the field to continue gaining legitimacy, it must hold itself to the highest standards. That means avoiding sensationalism, verifying sources, and embracing interdisciplinary analysis. A single, widely publicized error can set the movement back years. Why this matters. Now more than ever. The Arizona photo may be a false alarm, but it's also a wake-up call. The public is paying attention. Lawmakers are paying attention. The media is paying attention. That means the consequences of mistakes are bigger, and the stakes are higher than ever before. When false positives like this emerge, they can erode confidence not just in the photo itself, but in the larger question of whether any UAP data can be trusted. The burden of proof has never been higher, and the scientific community must meet it with discipline and humility. The path forward. Precision. Over sensationalism. Moving forward, researchers and public figures must resist the temptation to make headlines with dramatic imagery or unverified claims. The credibility of the field depends on precision, rigorous methodology, and a commitment to evidence over emotion. This doesn't mean we should dismiss every unusual image. It means we must investigate them carefully with input from experts in fields like geography, optics, digital forensics, aviation, and psychology. A truly interdisciplinary approach is the only way to ensure that real anomalies, if they exist, are not lost in a sea of misinterpretations. The fight for disclosure reaches a boiling point. In a fiery and impassioned segment of the ongoing national discussion on UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, frustrations mounted over the United States government's refusal to fully disclose what it knows about decades of mysterious sightings. The conversation turned sharply toward transparency, or rather, the disturbing lack thereof. The speaker pointed to a specific document, classified and redacted, where even the number of years the Pentagon had been investigating UAPs was blacked out, but has also restricted access to members of Congress themselves, an apparent violation of the very principles the nation was built on. "This is ridiculous," they said, their voice rising. "The American people have a right to this information." Today's topic. In this shocking image, a mysterious disc-shaped object hovers silently beside a tall skyscraper under a clear blue sky. With its sleek metallic design and symmetrical structure, this unidentified flying object strongly resembles the classic flying saucers described in thousands of eyewitness accounts. Could this be a glimpse of alien technology? Or is it something else entirely? Secret tech, CGI, or mass misidentification? Dive into the mystery in our latest episode and decide for yourself. Just how much is the Pentagon hiding? Pressed for a rough estimate, the speaker reluctantly offered a chilling number: less than 1%. That's how much of the Pentagon's collected UAP data, videos, photos, radar, infrared, multispectral scans, has been released to the public. Less than 1%. It's a staggering claim. For decades, government sensors, cameras, military aircraft, and space-based platforms have been collecting data, some of it dating back to World War II. Yet what's been declassified or leaked amounts to a mere trickle. A few seconds of grainy footage here, a single tic-tac-shaped blip there. "We're being treated like children," the speaker said bluntly. And it's not just visible imagery. Infrared tracking systems, synthetic aperture radar, signals intelligence, and more have likely recorded anomalies that defy conventional explanation. But all of that data, potentially thousands of hours of footage and terabytes of sensor logs, remains buried deep within the intelligence bureaucracy, unavailable to the public and Congress alike. Public pressure mounts for accountability. The conversation took a political turn, pointing out that for decades, the subject of UFOs was dismissed as a fringe obsession, something only conspiracy theorists or tinfoil hat wearers believed in. But that stigma is breaking down rapidly. Today, mainstream figures in science, defense, and government are demanding answers. In fact, one of the most remarkable aspects of this UAP movement is how bipartisan it has become. Members of Congress from both major parties, Republicans and Democrats who rarely agree on anything, are now united in their demand for disclosure. "The people have spoken," the speaker emphasized. "They want answers." Recent hearings have been packed, not just with journalists and government officials, but with ordinary citizens, overflow crowds, standing room only. In some cases, people had to be turned away at the door because the demand to witness these sessions exceeded the physical capacity of the room, an almost unheard of occurrence for a congressional hearing. These aren't just curious citizens. These are taxpayers, veterans, and professionals who've seen the government withhold information about aerial incursions, exotic craft, and sensor anomalies that defy current understanding of physics and engineering. The Trump administration called out. Although the issue spans multiple administrations, the speaker specifically called out the Trump administration's lack of action. "We haven't seen them deliver on the expectations they helped raise," they said. The public was promised transparency, but what they've received is silence. They made it clear this isn't a partisan issue, it's a human issue, an issue of national curiosity, security, and scientific inquiry. Why this moment matters more than ever. The urgency is palpable. We are no longer living in a time where UFOs are simply the stuff of late-night radio or sci-fi television. We are in a moment where senior defense officials, career intelligence officers, decorated pilots, and sitting members of Congress are all saying the same thing. We are being kept in the dark, and it's time to turn on the light. The expectation now is for complete transparency. Not decades from now, not in redacted, fragmented glimpses, but here, now, and fully. Because anything less will only feed mistrust, fuel speculation, and risk missing an opportunity for scientific advancement and greater public understanding. The people have spoken. Congress is listening. The Pentagon is on notice. 100 days and counting. The clock is ticking. As the segment nears its close, the speaker drives home a final, sobering point. We're already 100 days in. 100 days have passed since renewed calls for disclosure reached a fever pitch, since public hearings began, since testimony shook the walls of Congress, and since promises were made that things would change. And yet, still, no comprehensive disclosure. More than curiosity, it's a constitutional crisis. Make no mistake, this is not just about UFOs or UAPs. This is about whether a supposedly democratic government can keep secrets from its own elected officials with zero accountability. When Congress cannot access documents that it has a constitutional right to see, the issue transcends mystery and becomes a constitutional crisis. It begs the question, who is really in charge? If unelected officials and intelligence agencies can classify information indefinitely, deny access to oversight bodies, and avoid public scrutiny without consequence, then the foundational principle of representative government is at stake. That's why this fight isn't going away. In fact, it's only intensifying. The new normal. UAPs in the mainstream. What was once considered a fringe issue has now become a permanent fixture in mainstream discourse. You can see it in the media coverage, the crowded hearings, the bipartisan cooperation, and the flood of questions from the public. And it's not just enthusiasts. Former military pilots, intelligence officers, aerospace engineers, and even NASA-affiliated scientists are stepping forward, each offering critical pieces to a puzzle that can no longer be ignored. The volume of credible voices calling for full transparency has reached a crescendo. We're way past the point of ridicule, the speaker insists. This is about truth, it's about science, and it's about the public's right to know. Public sentiment is a tidal wave. In the final moments, the message is clear. The demand for answers is not a passing curiosity, it's a tidal wave. Every day, more people are waking up to the fact that their government may be withholding evidence of phenomena that challenge our understanding of physics, aerospace technology, and perhaps even consciousness itself. There is no longer any room for slow-walking the truth. The eyes of the world are watching, and any administration that continues to ignore the will of the people is on borrowed time. Because when it comes to the greatest mystery of our time, silence is no longer an option. Pumapunku, ancient precision that defies logic. High in Bolivia's Andes lies Pumapunku, part of the ancient Tiwanaku complex, home to some of the most astonishing stonework on Earth. Giant red sandstone blocks, weighing up to 280,000 pounds, were somehow carved and transported from quarries over 6 miles away, without wheels or iron tools. Even more incredible is the construction itself. The stones fit together with surgical precision, without mortar, and show cuts so clean they seem machine-made. The layout hints at ceremonial use, possibly connecting the Tiwanaku people to their gods through sacred rituals and astronomical alignments. While mainstream archaeologists credit ingenuity and lost techniques, mysteries persist, sparking fringe theories of advanced knowledge or outside influence. New tools like LiDAR are helping to uncover more about this ancient civilization, but Pumapunku still stands as a mind-bending puzzle of human history. Easter Island's Moai, giants of stone and spirit. On remote Easter Island, nearly 1,000 Moai statues, some over 30 feet tall and weighing more than 75 tons, stand as silent witnesses to a lost culture. Carved by hand between 1250 and 1500 AD from volcanic rock, their exact method of transportation remains debated. Some say they were walked using ropes, others believe in sledges or logs. The Moai are thought to represent deified ancestors, placed on ceremonial platforms called ahu, which also served as tombs. They symbolized power, protection, and spiritual connection. After European contact, the Rapa Nui suffered ecological collapse and cultural disruption, halting Moai construction. Yet today, these statues remain a UNESCO World Heritage Site, celebrated for their artistry and the resilience of the people who built them. Interstellar Dust, Cosmic Time Capsules. Interstellar dust particles are microscopic messengers from the ancient universe. Composed of elements like carbon, silicates, and metals, these grains were born in cataclysmic events, supernovae, and the final gasps of dying stars. Floating through space for billions of years, they carry with them the chemical signatures of distant star systems, older than our own solar system. What makes them fascinating is their isotopic composition, which is often radically different from anything found on Earth. This tells scientists that they are truly alien in origin, older than Earth itself, formed in environments we can only imagine. By studying these particles, some of which are collected from meteorites or retrieved by spacecraft, scientists gain a clearer picture of how planets, stars, and even life itself may have formed. They're more than just space dust. They're cosmic breadcrumbs leading us back to the beginning of everything. The truth is still out there, but it's going to take more than dramatic images to find it.